All right, shalom, aleichem, and welcome to our Wednesday class on Yalkut Yosef. And as we are welcoming you, joining us is Johnny Lalai, Johnny Haba. Ida is joining us as well at this moment.
Thank you.
Perfect timing. So Ida, I'm happy you joined because we are gonna, before we jump right back into where we stopped regarding the טבת, the הגומל, that's actually what we were talking about, someone that's traveling, how to work with his גומל. We will touch a little bit of what is coming. It's a mitzvah to deal with what is before us and Rosh Hashanah is before us. So it's not going to be long because there's not so much to say about the simanim, and in a second you'll see why. But just to understand what's the order of the simanim, because Vito is right. We were learning Mikar and Tefillah, and the order, what comes before what. So when Rosh Hashanah comes, we want to make sure we're doing it right. So before we're going to do what is right, what does Rav Ovadia hold that is right, I'm going to say that if this causes any problem at home, don't do it. Because you're going to see that our minhagim sometimes are different from what the halacha is. And even though it's right, it doesn't matter that it's right. If it's going to cause ba'ayot, if it's going to cause problems, then the shalom is greater than everything. And in a second, you'll see what I'm talking about. So the first thing that may be surprising to some of us is that after we do kiddush, some people, their custom was to first do the simanim, and then do hamotzi, and then eat. But really, there's a big problem with doing that halachically. We may have touched this before. What's the problem with doing that? Once you start eating things before you do the hamotzi, then if you eat in a volume that is more than 1 ounce, so here you go. If you eat in a volume that is more than 1 ounce, then you'll have to say beracha achona. But since you're about to do hamotzi, you come into a safek. Wait, I'm going to do beracha achona and then do hamotzi and then do berkat hamazon. Maybe my berkat hamazon at the end is going to cover this, so I don't have to do berkat achona. So you put yourself in a place of a safek. Therefore, the halacha is, don't put yourself in a place of a safek. First do hamotzi lechem min haaretz, and then you exempt all the berachot. Only what? A lot of us, that's not our custom. By the way, same thing on Shabbat. Remember, as a kid growing up, my family, before we would do hamotzi, they would bring us ha'etz, adama, and she'akol mi'avidvaro, they would bring us fish. After we eat the fish, we would do hamotzi. What's the root? Where did that come from? They wanted to give extra berachot for Shabbat. Because on Shabbat, the tefillot don't have 19 berachot in each amidah. They only have 7. And a person has to reach 100 berachot. So that's how these customs develop. They wanted us to say more berachot in Shabbat. But this brings us to a place where, we're conflicted. What about the halacha that maybe if we ate more than a volume of a kazait, let's say 1 ounce, we'll have to say b'cha chona or not. So we want to avoid that safek. But if you go to a Mashari family that has been doing this for 60 years, and tell them, no ha'etz adama she'akor, no fish before hamotzi, first do hamotzi, some places it'll cause, oh, look at you bringing us new things, this is what we used to do. So I want to cause that. Everybody, shalom is the greatest thing. That's the biggest thing. But if you are in a crowd that is going to be peaceful about you telling them what the halacha requires and would like to learn why, then that's what we're bringing today. So ideally, if the crowd allows and it goes peacefully, the first thing you need to do after kiddush is nitilat yadayim and hamotzi lechem min haaretz. That's really the best thing to do. All right? Now, once we've done that, Bruchim Abayim, Ilan and Giacomo. Ilan, your parents are here in Israel. Hopefully they'll be here for always happy things.
Yeah, I know. They told me they spoke to you.
Yeah, Baruch Hashem. Okay,
Yeah.
so right away we're going to do hamotzi lechem min haaretz. That's the halacha. Because we want to avoid that doubt that if we eat more than an ounce, and you're going to eat more than an ounce, you have all those simanim. Okay, so now we come to the simanim. First of all, just to give you background, what are these simanim? We eat something and we say, let's say we eat a head of a fish or a head of a sheep or whatever it is, and we say, just like we're eating a head right now, all year long, shem yeh lerosh v'lo lezanav, we should always be a head. And these seem kind of mystical, no? Like, I don't know, does the Rambam love these simanim? How does it work with these simanim? So I heard an interesting interpretation today, and the rabbi was really examining, do we follow these type of simanim? Mysticism, is that a Jewish thing? Is it not? So the question is, where's the border? I don't know to tell you if every little thing that someone does that is mystical is right or wrong. I learned not to disregard any of these customs. Because sometimes people think it's nonsense, and then you find that there's a source from it in the past. But the simanim that are in the Gemara, everybody agrees upon them. And these are the simanim of Rosh Hashanah. The Gemara from 2,000 years ago, the great giants, the Chachamim, told us these simanim. Told us the Seder of Rosh Hashanah. So, because that's the case, then we have no doubt but to follow. Now, some people like to add simanim on their own. For example, some people take a marshmallow and they say, that our sins should be light as a marshmallow, and then they eat the marshmallow. You've seen it? People add stuff. Okay, cute. Does it have a source? No. Okay, you want to do it, you're not harming anybody. But the source, the simanim that we do that have a source, know that this source comes all the way back from the Gemara. So though it may seem mystical to us, it's not a problem when the Chachamim tell us that that's the right thing. Because there's a lot of mysticism in our religion, but it just has to be based on the right things. So definitely these simanim are based on the right things. Now that we've said that, we've come to the famous question: what is the order of the simanim? So if you open your machzorim, you'll see some sort of order. But the order that means the most to us is what we have learned. Whenever we have fruits that the bracha on them is borei pri ha'etz, if some of them are from Shivat HaMinim, they have to come first. And in our Seder of Rosh Hashanah, we have 3 fruits that are borei pri ha'etz. We have a date, we have the rimon, the pomegranate, and we have an apple. 3 of those, the bracha on them is borei pri ha'etz. But wait, Ziv, we already did hamotzi. Why would we say borei pri ha'etz? The answer is, fruits, even after you said hamotzi, they're not covered. They're considered a side item, and you say borei pri ha'etz in them. Vegetables, no. Your fruits, you do say bracha on them. So the only question we have to ask ourselves is that when we get to the part that we're about to eat fruits with our heads, which one should we eat first? So let's make it easy. An apple is not from Shivat HaMinim. And therefore, out of the fruits, the apple should be last. Even though some people, their custom is, they open Rosh Hashanah with saying, "She'elanu Shana u'metuka kedvash." Let us have a sweet year like honey. Very nice. I'm not going to fight.
Wait, sorry, Ziv, Chila. You said the fruits from the Sheva Minim, even if you said amutzi and you eat those fruits, you have to say Aetz?
Yes. On the first one, once you said Aetz, you covered all the Aetz.
Okay, but kol hazman, always? Anytime
you're eating now,
wow.
You take an apple, you have to say, on the fruits, you have to say bracha. Because they're not considered part of the meal. They're considered a dessert. If you consider them part of the meal, there will be no bracha. For example, the Ashkenazim, they have a salad that contains sweet apples and mayo and, classy Ashkenazi sweet. All that someone was saying that their salads, they wanted them to be yummy, so all of them are very sweet. Saladim, usually they made them yummy by adding a lot of seasoning and making them spicy, but a lot of the Ashkenazi salads are sweet. They consider that part of the meal, so they're not going to say borei pri ha'etz on that. But for us, a fruit is not something that we're going to eat with our bread, right? The salads is something you eat with the bread. If you have
so it's not because of the Shivat HaMinim, it's because it's not part of the meal. It's like the mezonot, it's like the cake or dessert after. Okay.
So there's a machloket whether you say a bracha on a mezonot during a meal or not. It's not so pashut to say that it is, unless it's a very specific mezonot that is crummy and is filled and is sweet and it's very, very thin. Like one of the only things that there's a consensus on them, that even though you said hamotzi, you should say mezonotam, is a wafer, vafle we call it. The wafers, everybody will agree that even if you said hamotzi, you could say mezonot on them. Why? Because there's no way in the world ever that this wafer is going to be hamotzi. But a lot of other things, like let's say a slice of cake, if I have 8 ounces of that, I'm going to say hamotzi and Birkat Hamazon on that. So since it may be considered hamotzi, I'm not going to say right now mezonot on it if I eat a little bit during the meal. Or maybe yes, Rabbi Vadia, Ben Ishchak, there's a machloket. So I'm not getting into the whether we say bracha on mezonot because there's a machloket over there. But on the fruit, there's no machloket. A fruit is not part of the meal, and therefore it receives a beracha. Vegetable is part of the meal. You eat cucumbers, you eat onions, you eat during the meal. It's normal. But if no one eats an apple as part of the meal, would you put it on a slice of bread? No. And therefore it doesn't get a beracha. By the way, if you are eating a sweet salad, let's say in Ashkenazi you're invited, and you're eating it during the meal with the bread as a salad, then you're not going to say borei pri ha'etz on that apple. But if 5 minutes later they serve for the sweet apples, and you guys haven't said Bרכת Hamazon, you will say Birkat, even though you just ate it in the salad and you didn't say bracha on it. Since now it's separated and alone, it's not part of the meal. It's gonna get a bracha.
And then the Birkat Amazon covers everything.
Birkat Amazon always covers everything. There's no leftovers. Hamotzi, there's certain things it doesn't cover. As I said, let's say the fruit, it's not part of the meal. Or Borat Gefen. On Shabbat, we usually first do Gefen, then Hamotzi. But if during the week you're eating pizza, and after you have your pizza, you say, I'm in the mood for having a cup of wine, and you pour yourself a cup of wine, you have to say Borat Gefen. It didn't cover it, but all the other drinks were covered. Okay, so how did we get to this? We were saying that we have 3 fruits in the order here that we need to know what's the right order to eat them. All the rest, it doesn't matter. You want to eat the fish first, you want to eat the lubia, kalte, all these things, they don't matter because there's no bracha on them. It's all simanim, yehi rason me'efonecha. The main thing that matters is the halacha, that when you have shivat aminim, when you have non-shivat aminim, you first eat shivat aminim. So we know that the apple is the last one. Now what we have left is pomegranate and date. Anybody remember which one will come first? The date. Very good. The date comes first. The order is Eretz Chita Seora Gefen Tuna Veimon Eretz Zeit Shemen Udvash. That's the pasuk. And we explained last time how we learned the order. But the bottom line is that the date comes first, and then the olive, Zayt Shemen Udvash. The olive would come first, and then the date. But over here we don't have any olives, so that's not the question. And even if we had an olive, it's considered a vegetable. It's considered like kind of part of the meal. It's not considered a dessert, so there would be no bracha on them. So the date is first, and then gefen, which is grapes, te'ena, figs, and rimon. We don't have te'ena, we don't have figs, and we don't have grapes. All we have is the rimon. So in the order of the shivat aminim, rimon is last, pomegranate is last. The bottom line, if you're able to do this in your family, the best thing to do is to say kiddush, to say hamotzi, and then to have the date, and then the pomegranate, and then the apple. If you want to have in between those, or before those, or after those, the other simanim, doesn't bother anybody. But once you have the etz items, that should be the order. The date, the pomegranate, and then the apple. We have no questions. We're going to go back to our topic today. All right.
Wow,
But Mashadi, they all say apple and honey first.
You see?
Yeah.
You missed the introduction.
And pomegranate last.
You missed the introduction. I said in the introduction that what I'm saying right now is only if this is a crowd that is willing to accept what the halacha is. But sometimes you come to Masharis and you tell them, you say, no, my customers. Okay, you definitely don't start an argument. Don't start a fight. If that's what someone wants to do, then let him do it. That's the most important thing is that we have a good environment on Rosh Hashanah. No arguments, nothing. But sometimes if you come to a crowd and you say, listen, really, Shivat Aminim, they are the fruits that are blessed. So the halacha says that when you have an apple and a date, first comes the date. If you say this and you say, oh, really? We're so happy to learn a new halacha. Fantastic. But if they start saying, you and all your halachot, no, it's not worth it. So you need to know your crowd and how to bring it. So the introduction was.
Thank you. Thank you. You got it very clear. Thank you.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, so now back to Birkat Gomel. As we were learning last week, person drives 72 minutes out of the city. Not only does he have to say Tefilat Hadorah, he also has to say Birkat Gomel. Now, what if it's not 72 minutes? He's going on a short drive, but it's in a dangerous area. Here in Eretz Yisrael, the Yalkut Yosef brings an example of a dangerous area. Yehuda v'Shomron. Right, Judah and Samaria, that area, you drive, there's a chance that you're going to get stoned, they're going to throw rocks. It's considered a dangerous area. Says the Yalkut Yosef, if you drive in an area like that, even for a few minutes, you have to say Birkat Gomel. Few minutes, but you got Birkat Gomel. And he says if your job passes through there, and you have to go there every single day, just like before, don't say Gomel every single day. At the end of the week, when it comes Shabbat, say one Gomel for the whole week. But the chidush here is that even though it was a short ride, Yalkut Yosef says that we have to say Birkat Gomel. Who doesn't say Birkat Gomel? You have people that go through car accidents, and then they're healthy, so they come to the Beit Knesset and they say, I accident, nothing happened to me, I want to say a Gomel. He says a Gomel, and he says a baracha levatala, and everybody answers amen yatoma. They don't have to say baracha, right? You're not under the criteria. The criteria was that if you crossed the ocean, or if you were in a desert, or if you came out of prison, or if you were sick in the level that you had to lay down. This guy was never sick. Hashem made a miracle for him. You should be grateful. Amazing. But that's not the criteria of Birkat HaGomel. So a car accident, or even if someone's house was robbed, or if someone even went to war and came back alive, there was no Birkat HaGomel. But if he feels a need to say Birkat HaGomel because he feels so grateful that Hashem saved his life, what would you recommend him to do? Anybody have an idea?
Teuda, no. How you say Teuda?
Teuda. You're saying have a meal.
Teuda, yes.
Beautiful idea. What if
Say amen to someone else's Birkat HaGomel.
Nice. You could say amen to someone else's gomel. Or he could just, next time he goes on a 72-minute drive, say Birkat HaGomel and have in mind the car accident that he was in. And then he says, gets to actually even say the words, right? But saying it just like that for that, you cannot. But all your ideas are blessed. Exactly by it. Now, if someone was in a car accident, and he got injured, and then he became a Baal Mum Kavua, he had some sort of imperfection in his body because of that, and then he healed from that, okay, then you could say Birkat HaGomel. That's under the criteria of how to lay down. Laying down doesn't necessarily mean that you have to lay down, but if he had a mum, if he had some sort of physical problem that was a steady problem that didn't leave him, that's also considered something that he would say Gomel once he heals from it. All right. So that was just leftovers from last week. We have two short topics today, and I hope we'll cover both. If not, we'll probably cover the one which is very short.
See,
yeah, probably.
Sorry, what's considered like leaving the city? It says 17 minutes leaving the city. What's like is
highway?
I don't know what.
I would say highway.
Going on the highway, getting on the highway.
Yeah, but,
okay.
But some.
I heard there was something that like, oh, if there's still residential houses around, then it's not considered leaving the city or something.
I heard that too. I heard that too when I was younger. They said that if you still have houses, then you're safe. Ashkenazim, they may say that that's why 72 minutes doesn't deserve Birkat HaGomel or Tfilat HaDerech. For us, Sephardim, once you leave your city, you know what halacha is? There's an Iruv. In Israel, every city has an Iruv. You know what Iruv is, right? Once you leave the Iruv, you start counting. Usually that's the highway. So I said highway. I don't know where the Great Neck Iruv ends, because maybe it doesn't go all the way till the next city. But if you're driving from Great Neck to Queens, and the second you left Great Neck, you start counting. And again, we don't count traffic. We count as if the street is empty, but will take me 72 minutes outside of my city.
Thank you.
Okay. Next topic, Hatavat Chalom. Yosef brings this over here. What happens when someone has a bad dream? Lo Alemu should always have good dreams, but sometimes dreams feel so real. The Gemara says that the Chalomot Shavidaberu, that it's not real. But even though they say it's not real, but they also give you a list of things that could be a bad sign if you dreamt about. So really, there is something about dreams. Depends if the dream real, if it feels real or it doesn't feel real. So sometimes a person wakes up from a dream and he says, Shtiyot, didn't bother him. Okay, you don't have to do anything. Go on with your day. But the halacha talks about someone that saw a bad dream and he feels so horrible that he even wants to do a fast. Halacha is what happens if he wants to fast on Shabbat. He's allowed to because it's so hard for him to feel this feeling and he wants to fast. So what does Yosef say about that? When someone has a bad dream, he has to go before 3 people. I've seen this once. Someone bad came to the rabbi. The rabbi got 2 guys. And he says...
Like Ataret Nadarim.
And he says before 3 people that he loves, he says to them, Chalom tov ra'iti. I saw a good dream. You should always interpret a dream into bad, never into good. Never say bad. Oh, that's a bad dream. Why? Because the solution of the dream goes according to he who interprets it. Right? We learned that from Yosef. The way he interpreted the dream, that's what really happened. So when someone comes to you with a dream, always say, oh, that's a good dream. That's such a good sign. Always give them good because that's what's going to happen by the way you interpret it. So that's what we do. He comes and he says, I had this dream. It's a good dream. And they all say, yes, it's a good dream. It's a good dream. There's a whole seder of how to do that. But that's called טבת חלום. When someone has a bad dream, that's how he fixes it. Now, when should someone fast if he has a bad dream? Says that Yosef, when his soul feels so bad And he knows that if he's going to fast, he's going to do a cheshbon nefesh. What's a cheshbon nefesh? He's going to be fasting and thinking, what have I done? I must have done bad things. I have to do tshuva. I have to fix my actions. And by doing that tshuva while he's fasting, he knows that will console him. Then that's when he needs to fast. But not every bad dream, right away someone wants to fast. Only when you know that this is going to lead you to doing some sort of tshuva, introspection of what's wrong with me, and that will make you feel better, that's when you have to do it, right? Now, usually, when you want to do a ta'anit, there's no such thing as a ta'anit that you did not accept it yesterday before Shkia. If someone wants to fast tomorrow, let's say right now is Wednesday. For you, it's still sunny outside. I don't know what the weather is, but I hope it's sunny outside. But it's Wednesday. Let's say someone wants to do a ta'anit in the zchut of his children. He said, this Thursday, I want to fast, and that should be for my kids. He has to accept the ta'anit on Wednesday before Shkia, so that the ta'anit is meaningful tomorrow. But if a guy wakes up in the morning and says, you know what, I'm not going to eat today, I'm doing a ta'anit, it's not a ta'anit. Halachically, it's not a ta'anit. It's a torture. He tortured himself. There's benefits in that. He did something to take away his sins. Okay, but the level that is called ta'anit, which is a much higher level, that already has powers in the upper worlds, you don't get it to be considered a ta'anit if you did not accept it a day before. A lot of tzaddikim in Eretz Yisrael, all of Aseret Yemei Tshuva, except for the holidays and Shabbats, they fast every day. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, because the Ari HaKadosh, the Mekubal, says that every day that you fast on the Aseret Yemei Tshuva, it fixes all of that day during the year. Which means you fast on Sunday, it fixes all the Sundays of the year. Fast Monday, it fixes all the Mondays of the year. If the Mekubalim allow them fast, you are Aseret Yemei Tshuva 10 days in a row. But they can't just wake up in the morning and fast. Every day before the Shkia, you have to say, tomorrow I'm planning on fasting. Only like that, it gets the elevation of being considered a ta'anit. Why am I giving you this introduction? Because when it comes to having a bad dream, that's the only time where the halakha says, even if you didn't plan it yesterday, you couldn't plan it, you didn't know what you're going to dream, you should do the ta'anit. If it's going to make you feel better, do the ta'anit, and it will be considered a ta'anit that fixes your problem, because you couldn't do it any other way. But this is the only place. All right, those are the halachot of טבת חלום in a nutshell. And now to a more fun topic. Next topic in Shulchan Aruch, Birkat Shehechiyanu. When do we say Shehechiyanu? And what not? Are there certain times that it's a problem to say Shehechiyanu? So we're going to touch this. There are a few interesting points that brings Yalkut to say. If someone got honored by his congregation or by the university or by something like that, you come up to stage and you give him like a big, some sort of special report card or whatever it is with honors, he says, for that, it is right that the person, he can't say Shehechiyanu on that, but he feels so great about himself. So it's right that he would buy a new clothing item and he would say Shehechiyanu on that and have in mind that he just got this new position. Let's say he made him into like a chief rabbi or whatever. So you can't say a bracha on that. You buy a new clothing item and you have that in mind. You see this repeating a lot in the halakha. And you can't say what you want to say, find another way to say it. All right? Now, interesting halakha, I don't know if you knew this, but if you did not see someone that you love, he brings examples. It's a relative, it's a very good friend.
For 60 days.
30 days. Close. 30 days.
30 days.
30 days. If you did not see them for 30 days and you are happy by seeing them, it's not just enough that you didn't see them. Some people, they don't see their relative for 30 days. They get sad when they see them. But if you're happy when you see them, you could say, Baruch atah l'shem ha'malchut. You could say a full beracha, Shehechiyanu, v'kiyimanu, v'giyanu, l'zeman hazeh. Right? Now,
Ziv, does seeing them through FaceTime during those 30 days count?
That's the next topic. So exactly.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Yosef addresses it. No, it's a very relevant question because today, what's the Shehechiyanu? Shehechiyanu is when something wasn't around and now I have an excitement that it's appearing. But if every day I'm FaceTiming him, is that considered that I see him every day? So maybe I don't have the excitement, or maybe no, the physical excitement since he's here is enough for me. That's the question. It's a very good question. So says the Yalkut Yosef, if you see him on TV or on the phone, it's still okay. It's not considered that you saw him, Only physically, when you see him, then you get the Shehechiyanu v'timanu v'yonu. So even if you saw me like this, you spoke to me on the phone, the Shehechiyanu is enough that you did not see him physically. So the answer is, you saw him on FaceTime, you could still say the Shehechiyanu. However, your question is very smart because there's another beracha that we're going to learn right now. It's Birkat Mechaye HaMetim. This is a beracha that you say about a person that you did not see for 1 year. Right? So over there, same question. What if I saw him on TV? What if I heard him on the radio? What if I spoke to him on the phone? Over there, says Yalkut Yosef, you do not say the beracha unless you had zero contact with him. So I'm on FaceTime, no beracha. You spoke to him on no beracha. Even if he didn't talk to you, but you heard about him. Someone told you that, oh, this guy did this and that. You don't say Mechaya Metim. Why? Because what's the reasoning behind Mechaya Metim? It's that you weren't aware of this person's whereabouts for 1 whole year. So he was like met to you. He was like gone. So now that he's brought back, you say Mechaya Metim. But if you know, every day you follow him on Instagram, or you see this guy, someone told you that he went here and he went there, you know about him, then there is no Mechaya Metim. So we learned 2 interesting berachot. Shehechiyanu and Mechaya Metim, unseen people. There is another interesting beracha when you see something that's not so common, and it's called Mishaneh HaBeriyot. Baruch atah Hashem, Elokeinu melech haolam, Mishaneh HaBeriyot. Mishaneh HaBeriyot, Lishanot is to change. It means that you have changed the living beings. What does that refer to? So the very specific animals that the halacha says that when you see them after you haven't seen them for, some say only once in a lifetime, you could say, some say if you haven't seen for a very long time. But a blessing on an elephant or a monkey. Some also say an owl, but the Yalkut Yosef doesn't bring the owl. He says the elephant and the monkey, those are 2 special animals that when you see them, if you haven't seen them for a long time, you could say that beracha Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam Mishaneh HaBeriyot. Why specifically these animals? Maybe you guys will give me the wisdom. I don't know what's so special about them.
Wait, for how long you have to see them to say the bracha?
Don't give a time limit. It's open discussion whether every 30 days that you haven't seen them, you could see it. I heard once a year. I think even I heard once in a lifetime. You have a source. If you've never done it before, at least for sure everybody will agree that next time you see a monkey, you could say Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam Mishaneh HaBeriyot. If he's a smart monkey, he's going to answer Amen to your beracha. But I heard one opinion that says that maybe these animals are intelligent and they remind you of a person. So I see that more in a monkey. I don't exactly understand how that works with the elephant, but no explanation. Just know these are the animals that halachically you're able to say on them, Mishaneh HaBeriyot. And if you see beautiful people or beautiful things, nature in the world, there's also a beracha for that. The beracha is Haroeh Beriyot Ma'ot, says Yalkut Yosef, bimiuchad, but especially beautiful, not normal. Mevarech Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam, shekacha lo be'olamo. How fortunate is God that His world is like this. Meaning, you see someone so beautiful. The Gemara says, even a goy, you saw a goy that's so beautiful, right? The Gemara says that in the Talmud Yerushalmi, it says that Rabban Gamliel saw a Goya, and he said it about the Goya. Now, you have to be Rabban Gamliel to look at a Goya that's so beautiful and think of a bracha instead of think about other things. So I wouldn't recommend looking at Goyot and trying to say this bracha. But if you see someone that is very good looking, especially something, out of this world, or a beautiful parrot that just blows you away, say, Shekacha lo be'olamo, Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam, that His world is like this because you are impressed from the visual that you are seeing. All right, we'll stand over here, Rabotai. Zaku Baruch, Yizku Mitzvot. Shalom, we'll see you next week.
Thank you, Ziv. Chazak Baruch.
Zak Baruch.